On a hot afternoon in 2019, in the dusty streets of Ouagadougou, the capital of Burkina Faso, an extraordinary event was about to unfold, an event that would change not only the destiny of two people, but would become a symbol of hope for an entire African nation. This is the true story of how a simple gesture by a poor boy saved the life of the man who would become the president of his country. Burkina Faso, a country located in the heart of West Africa, has a history marked by challenges and overcoming adversity. With a population of approximately 20 million, the country faces significant economic difficulties, being one of the poorest in the world. Most people live on less than $2 a day, and child poverty is a cruel reality affecting millions of families. In this difficult scenario, thousands of children roam the streets of Burkinabe cities, trying to survive by selling small items, shining shoes, or simply begging. They are boys and girls whose childhood has been stolen by necessity, but who still keep the flame of hope alive in their hearts. Musa was only 12 years old when his life intersected with the destiny of Ibrahim Traoré. Orphaned at the age of 7, the boy had to leave school to help his mother and 3 younger siblings survive. Every morning, he left home with an improvised wooden box containing some sweets, chewing gum, and mineral water to sell on the busy street corners of the capital. The boy was known in the neighborhood for his kindness and easy smile despite the difficulties. He never complained about his fate and always said that one day things would get better. His brown eyes shone with a determination that impressed even the most cynical adults who passed him daily. Musa had a dream to go back to school and become a teacher. He saved every coin he could in a tin hidden under his bed, dreaming of the day he could buy school uniforms and teaching materials for himself and his siblings. For now, the reality was selling his wares under the scorching sun and the occasional rain that fell on Ouagadougou. In 2019, Ibrahim Traoré was not yet the president of Burkina Faso. At that time, he was an army captain, recognized for his bravery and commitment to the security of his country. At 31 years old, Traoré had already participated in several military operations against extremist groups that threatened the stability of the Sahel region. Unlike many military officers, Traoré was known for his simplicity and closeness to the people. He often walked the streets without much security detail, talked to ordinary citizens, and maintained a modest lifestyle. This characteristic made him beloved among the soldiers under his command and respected by the civilian population. On that fateful day in October 2019, Traoré was returning from a military meeting on his motorcycle, a simple vehicle he preferred to official cars. He was dressed in civilian clothes so as not to attract attention, and was riding down a side street when the unexpected happened. It was approximately 5 o'clock in the afternoon when 3 armed men in a black car began to follow Traoré's motorcycle. It was an ambush attempt planned by enemies who wanted to eliminate him because of his successful operations against terrorist cells in the northern region of the country. Traoré realized he was being followed and sped up on his motorcycle, trying to escape through the narrow alleys of the commercial district. However, on a tight turn, the vehicle skidded on the loose sand of the street, and the captain fell heavily to the ground. His motorcycle slid for a few meters, and he was temporarily dazed by the fall. The 3 armed men quickly exited the car and advanced toward the fallen officer. Surprisingly, the street was almost empty at that moment. Most of the shopkeepers had already closed their stores, and few passers-by remained in the area. Traoré was in mortal danger, wounded and practically alone. It was at this critical moment that Musa appeared. The boy was returning home after a long day of sales when he witnessed the scene. His first instinct might have been to run and hide, as any child would do in the face of armed men. But something inside him wouldn't allow that to happen. Musa saw the fallen man trying to get up and the 3 attackers approaching with weapons drawn. Without thinking twice about the consequences, the boy began to shout with all the strength of his young lungs, "Thieves! Murderers! Help! Help this man!" His high-pitched, desperate voice echoed through the empty streets. Musa didn't stop shouting. He ran towards nearby shops, banging on closed doors and continuing his cries for help. His courage was extraordinary for someone so young and frail, facing armed criminals. The attackers, surprised by the boy's unexpected action and fearing that his cries would attract unwanted attention, hesitated for a few precious seconds. Those seconds were enough for shopkeepers to start leaving their stores and for residents to appear at their windows and doors. Realizing that the element of surprise had been lost and that witnesses were emerging, the three men quickly returned to the car and fled at high speed, leaving clouds of red dust behind. Musa ran to the fallen man and helped him to sit up. "Are you all right, sir? Are you hurt?" the boy asked, genuine concern in his voice. Traoré, still recovering from the shock, looked at the boy's sweaty, worried face and felt a wave of gratitude. "You saved my life, little one," said Traoré, his voice choked with emotion. "What's your name?" "Musa, sir. Musa Ouedraogo," the boy replied, helping the officer to his feet. Other residents approached, offering water and help. Traoré had scrapes and bruises, but nothing serious. He insisted on knowing more about the brave boy who had risked his own life to save him. Musa, with the characteristic humility of children who know the hardships of life, briefly told his story. He spoke about his widowed mother, his younger siblings, his life selling sweets on the streets, and his dream of returning to school. Traoré listened attentively to every word. He asked for the boy's family's address and promised he would return to thank him properly. Musa, accustomed to empty promises from adults, simply smiled politely, not expecting it to actually happen. 3 days later, Ibrahim Traoré appeared at Musa's humble home in the outskirts of Ouagadougou. The arrival of a military officer caused great excitement in the neighborhood. Musa's mother, a thin and tired woman named Aminata, was terrified, thinking her son had gotten into trouble. Traoré quickly reassured her and explained what had happened. With tears in her eyes, Aminata hugged her son, proud of his courage, but at the same time frightened by the danger he had faced. The captain did not come empty-handed. He brought enough food for the family for several months, but more importantly, he brought something that would change Musa's life forever. The promise that the boy and his siblings would return to school, with all expenses paid by him personally. "You gave me back my life, Musa," said Traoré, placing his hand on the boy's shoulder. "Now, let me help you build yours. A brave boy like you deserves all the opportunities that education can offer." Musa couldn't hold back his tears. For the first time in years, he cried not from sadness, but from happiness and hope. His dream was coming true. In the following years, Ibrahim Traoré maintained regular contact with Musa's family. He was not just a distant benefactor, but became a mentor and father figure to the boy. He visited the family regularly, inquired about Musa and his siblings' school progress, and shared life lessons. Traoré taught the boy about courage, honor, justice, and the importance of serving others. He explained that a person's true worth lies not in their wealth or social standing, but in their actions and character. Musa absorbed every word like a sponge, determined to become a man his protector could be proud of. Their relationship was genuine and profound. Traoré saw in Musa the essence of what Burkina Faso could be. Courageous, supportive and hopeful despite adversity. The boy, in turn, saw in Traoré an example of integrity and leadership. In 2022, 3 years after the incident that brought their lives together, Ibrahim Traoré led a military movement that brought him to the presidency of Burkina Faso. His rise to power was motivated by a desire to combat corruption, improve the living conditions of the people, and restore national security threatened by extremist groups. When he took office as president, one of the first people Traoré invited to the ceremony was Musa, now a 15-year-old, studying at one of the best schools in the country. The boy who once sold sweets on the streets was seated in a place of honor at the presidential ceremony. During his inaugural address, President Traoré publicly shared for the first time the story of how a poor boy had saved his life. With Musa seated in the audience, the president declared, "This young man taught me that the true wealth of a nation lies not in its natural resources, but in the courage and kindness of its people. He saved me when I was just a soldier. Now, as president, I pledge to create a country where no child must leave school to help their family survive." Traoré's words resonated throughout the country and beyond its borders. Musa's story became a symbol of hope and a reminder that heroes can come from the most unlikely places. Today, the story of President Ibrahim Traoré and the boy Musa Ouedraogo is told in schools throughout Burkina Faso. It teaches children about courage, gratitude, and the importance of doing what is right, even when it is difficult or dangerous. President Traoré implemented several social policies focused on education and combating child poverty, always remembering the boy who risked everything to save a stranger. He created scholarships for poor children, school feeding programs, and initiatives to keep children in school. Musa, for his part, continues studying with exceptional dedication. He dreams of graduating in law and working to create laws that protect vulnerable children in his country. When asked about that day in 2019, he always says the same thing: "I just did what anyone should do, help those in need." The story of Ibrahim Traoré and Musa Ouedraogo makes us reflect on the mysteries of destiny and the power of our choices. If Musa had chosen the safer path and simply fled or hid, an important leader could have been lost that day. If Traoré had not honored his promise of gratitude, a talented child could have remained on the streets, his potential wasted. But both made the right choices. Musa chose courage instead of fear. Traoré chose gratitude and action instead of just empty words. And those choices transformed not only their own lives, but impacted an entire nation. The story of President Ibrahim Traoré and the boy who saved his life is more than just an inspiring tale. It is a powerful testament to the fact that our actions, however small they may seem, can have extraordinary consequences. It is proof that kindness and courage know no boundaries of social class or age. In a world often dominated by news of division and selfishness, this story reminds us that humanity still shines through in the simplest gestures. A poor boy who could have worried only about his own survival chose to risk everything for a stranger. A military officer who could have simply walked on chose to recognize and reward that courage. The encounter between Ibrahim Traoré and Musa Ouedraogo on an October afternoon in 2019 changed both their destinies. But more importantly, it taught us a timeless lesson. Each of us has the power to change the course of history through our daily choices of kindness, courage, and compassion. The next time you have the opportunity to help someone, remember Musa's story. You never know how a single act of kindness can echo through time and transform not just one life, but an entire nation.